It was done last season and it's gonna be repeated again. We're gonna be looking at a double swoop. And from where? From Manchester City. Arsenal again is looking at a double swoop. Two football players are from Manchester City crossing over to the club Arsenal. Hello everyone, and thank you for being part of this podcast. And make your point, subscribe and ring that notification bell so you do not miss out on whatever we've definitely got to bring to you, as long as it is sports and as long as it is Arsenal related, right about here at the Arsenal chapter with me, your host Abogas, as we talk sport and as we talk everything sporting. So first of all, the club Arsenal is looking at major reinforcement in this summer transfer window, because what happened in the second spell of the season wasn't the best of things, because when you see what happened, really, Arsenal lost. He lost the league title because of a few things. And one of the things as to why that definitely happened is because there were not enough quality football players to take the club to the next level. I don't know if they understand what I mean, but that was quite a bit complicated for them. And another thing, leaving that alone, leaving the depth. I think experience is also another thing that was definitely needed. The club needed experienced football players. It's an entirely young squad with just a few experienced football players, but entirely it's a young squad. And when you see how things have been operating, how things are working these days, definitely you need experienced football players in there. Young talent is good, it's okay, but experience is also needed, so there should be a mix of things in between there. So it will be remembered that last season, general transfer window, is in the general transfer window anyway, recently we saw two football players, we saw two football players move from the club Manchester City to Arsenal, and you can tell the impact those two football players have made. You can see Alexander Zinchenko moved from Manchester City to the club Arsenal, and then leaving alone Alexander Zinchenko, then Gabriel Jesus also did the same, and that was quite great. And the amount of you can see how they played was definitely, how they played is quite good. And the fact that Arsenal finished in the second position, and it wasn't just the second position, it was almost taking the Premier League title, definitely shows you how big an impact they made to a club. And right about now, they are about two football players moving from Manchester City and crossing over to Arsenal. And these two football players, one is Joao Cancelo and yet another one is Ilkay Gündoğan. And this is definitely happening. Whom should we start with? Should we start with Ilkay Gündoğan or we start with Joao Cancelo? Let's start with Joao Cancelo. First of all, when a football player is not performing quite well in a club, sometimes it's about the systems that are put in place. Sometimes the systems do not work for the football player. And when we look at a football player like Joao Cancelo, he lost his place in the starting 11 of Manchester City, and he was not happy about it. And then he said he wants a move, possibly can have a loan move until the end of the season, for when he can sort out things for himself. And it comes out that this didn't go on quite well with Manchester City, but Manchester City had to let him go, and he went to Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich won the Bundesliga, because one of the reasons is because they had a very good defender like him, very good centre back like him. And it comes out that Bayern Munich gets quite a lot of interest in signing him on a permanent deal. And we saw what happened, saying Bayern Munich coming out and saying we need him, permanent deal, we can negotiate. Then Manchester City comes and says we need £60 million for him. £60 million for a football player whom you're not starting, you've loaned him. and you want him to sign on a permanent deal, £60 million. And Bayern Munich, Thomas Tuchel, who's the current manager of Bayern Munich, says there is no way we are giving you 60 million. That is definitely out. And if you want your football player, you can definitely have him at the end of the season, which is now. And it is reported that he's definitely going to be moving or crossing over again, going back. He's going to be going back to Manchester City. So with all this that was being in the news, Mikel Arteta sits down and is like, I've worked with this gentleman before. I know him quite well. He's a big talent, a very good football player. And I think what we can do is go and get him. And that was a very brilliant idea. We need to put in our bid. But still, even when Arsenal has clearly said that they need him and they want him and they want things to go on quite well for him and also for the club. Arsenal is not agreeing with a few aspects, and the major thing that Arsenal isn't agreeing with is the price. Also, £60 million for £60 million for him is for Joao Cancelo is quite big money, quite a lot of money. So you can definitely tell that something is wrong and something has to be done if Manchester City, because Manchester City wants to get rid of him because he's not starting. Both parties are not happy. He's been loaned to Bayern Munich because of not starting, and he's going back to Manchester City, and Manchester City is saying you can, if you want, possibly you can stay, but you're not starting again, and he's not happy about it. And he says, I'm open to a move. I can have a move. I want a move. If I want a move, I can definitely have one. And it definitely comes out that all that Arsenal wants to deal with it definitely wants the football player, but Arsenal is not willing to go for him if he's worth £60 million. I think Arsenal could definitely pay around £50 million for the player, and I think that would be sorted. That would be quite good if they pay £50 million roughly. Okay, but if Mikel Arteta goes on and says he wants him that bad, then Josh and Stan Kariuki will have no option apart from buying the football player. And I don't think he should really go to that extent of being desperate for him. I think negotiations should go on and Arsenal can get him at a reduced price. But as it stands by now, Arsenal are the favourites. They are the biggest. They are the favourites in all the clubs that are interested in him. Barcelona want him. Barcelona want him to go and play for them, but it's still a weak link. Arsenal are the club that are heavily interested in signing him. Arsenal, for some reason I was not very sure, but whether Arsenal need a centre back, a full back, and it comes out in the news that they want Joao Cancelo. And I'm like, oh, but I can understand if they want Joao Cancelo. They want to sort their back. Their defense. They want a big and solid defense. They want a very wonderful defense, which is quite understandable for a club like them. If they want a very wonderful defense, it's definitely okay. It's definitely fine. And if because I think they have seen what happened, why they didn't win the title is because of limited players. So they want enough football players, and not only being enough, but also quality. So with him, I think it's a deal that is going to be done. I think it should not be so complicated for the club Arsenal to sign Joao Cancelo, who is right about now getting back to Man City to make sure that he can finalize his contract with Man City, sort out a few things with Man City, and then talk about what is going to be happening with his club. But it is reportedly said that he's already met agents from the club Arsenal, and they have asked him to make a move to the club Arsenal. This has been, it's not that he's even it's Arsenal agents that have met the management of Joao Cancelo, but Joao Cancelo himself, he said that the Arsenal management has met with Joao Cancelo himself, reportedly. So let's hope that things will definitely go on quite well. And again, we're talking about a double swap. Looking at the other football player is İlkay Gündoğan. İlkay Gündoğan has played brilliantly, very well, very good football player. Scored twice in the FA finals and helped Manchester City go. Can you imagine Joao Felix? Sorry, not Joao Felix. Joao Cancelo, İlkay Gündoğan, and Gabriel Jesus, and who's the fourth player from Man City? Oh, who's this player? I can see him. I'm now seeing him. Who's this player? Ukraine football star. Plays for Ukraine. Oh. For some reason I'm forgetting his name. But there are two football players who signed last transfer window, and last transfer in the who signed from Manchester City, and one is Gabriel Jesus. Oh, who's this? Why am I forgetting him? Let me remember. Shouldn't be forgetting him. Yeah, Alexander Zinchenko. So I was still saying, can you imagine Alexander Zinchenko, Gabriel Jesus, Joao Cancelo, and İlkay Gündoğan in the same team? Arsenal, and they have Bukayo Saka, and Arsenal has William Saliba, and Arsenal has Ben White, Martinelli. All these football players, class football players. Smith Rowe. It's going to be a solid club, and I think now Arsenal definitely want to have a better run at the Premier League title than what they had last time. So we can definitely tell that İlkay Gündoğan, him joining Arsenal, will be a brilliant move. And if İlkay Gündoğan joins Arsenal, which me as a football the way I analyze things, leave alone everybody else what he's said, because everybody is saying he's going to Arsenal, but I think Arsenal is going to have a little bit of hard time getting him. It's not that Arsenal is not going to get him. There is chance for Arsenal getting him, but the fact that he's a free transfer, it could be quite a bit easy, but Manchester City might give him a 2-year contract, because they do not want to sell to rivals. They've sold to rivals and they almost lost the league. They almost lost the title. And I think now they'll be very calculative, but it is still understandable. But if İlkay Gündoğan joins Arsenal, then it's gonna be a brilliant one. So we could be seeing a double swoop again. We could be seeing Joao Cancelo and İlkay Gündoğan moving over from Man City to Arsenal. And that will be a great one, and we think Arsenal will have yet another good season. Otherwise, thank you for being part of the Arsenal chapter. and goodbye for now.